Welcome to a Monday. We're going to look quickly at this heat that's on its way. It was a nice weekend. Now we're going back into that so familiar heat event, which is going to be today, Tuesday, the hottest day, and then Wednesday, the cool down day. I talk a lot about how these heat waves in the Bay Area tend to last about 3 days, and the last couple have. We had one that lasted longer than that, but the last couple haven't. The reason for that is what I want to show you. The reason it can only get so hot in San Francisco, the reason it's hard to break records in San Francisco, in much of the the Bay Area, right around the Bay, is what I'm about to show you, which is this thermal pressure gradient that develops in the summer months. It's basically a land sea breeze. We talked about that before, but basically it gets hot in the valley, the air rises, right? The hot air, it gets so hot in the valley, the air rises. It doesn't have access to the cool oceans, so it stays 70 overnight, and then in the morning you wake up, it's 80 degrees. It's already 90 in Sacramento now. The air starts to rise, and that creates sort of a vacuum at the surface, a temperature vacuum, if you will. And that temperature vacuum gets filled with this thermal high air, this cold air from the coast, which you've seen and you've all been to the coast. This is essentially the water temperatures along the coastal California are in the 50s. That's in juxtaposition to temperatures that in the core of the Central Valley are in the 100s. That's a 40-degree easy temperature disparity over 60 or 70 miles. And the air just tries hard to get in. That cooler air wants to go towards the vacuum. Cold air sinks, warm air rises, and it does this. And the cold air, that's your sea breeze right there, trying to come in, the delta breeze, you name it. And so that's what we're having going on today. We're having this in tomorrow and the next day as well. So this thermal gradient is going to stick around throughout Wednesday. And what will happen is eventually it'll get so hot in the valley, which will be tomorrow, that the cold air will start to pull in. And there's a whole lot that goes on with this. There's a feedback loop of a land sea breeze. So this is a larger scale version of a land sea breeze, which is what we have when we have 80 degrees in Berkeley and 58 degrees in Pacifica. They get a nice little sea breeze. That's why the Bay is so, this onshore flow, this thermal gradient is why San Francisco Bay is probably the best sailing venue in the world, because you get a consistent, persistent blow through the Golden Gate Bridge, through that sea level gap. It tries to get up over the coastal hills, and when that happens, we all cool down. But in general, it kind of squeezes through that gap and tries to cool us off. So that's my interpretation, and that's my take on the thermal gradient, which is our whole summer. And so why won't it stay hot for like 10 days around here in the Bay proper? It's hard to do, man. Like that last heat wave we had, that was some stuff. That was historic because it lasted like 5 or 6 days. It was able, the dynamic high pressure aloft, that's a whole nother thing, was able to keep the fog and the cool air at the coast. And that's why the inland areas got so hot. Right now, take a peek, there's the fog. And you can see it's restricted to the coastline. So this is today. This is right now. The thermal gradient is setting up. It is hot in the Central Valley. Let's take a look at, I want to show you this. This is a site out of San Diego State. I'm going to link this to my page. This is a site that has a ton of live cameras on it. So it's on the San Diego State University site, and it's got all the California live cameras you can access. It's awesome, because I think live cameras tell you so much about weather, as this camera does. Ocean Beach Central Surf Camera at Surfline. And you can see where the fog is. And by the way, this is how it's going to pretty much look tomorrow and then again on Wednesday. But on Wednesday, it'll start to push inland, and that'll break our heat wave. So it's going to be a 3-day heat wave is what it looks like, because it's really just a strong thermal gradient that will get broken by, by this cool air coming in from the coast. So this is the setup for advisories and watches. The heat advisory in orange. The purple, I guess that's purple area, that's your heat warning, your excessive heat warning. And those are big deals. So it's sort of interesting. You know what's interesting here on this is I think you can see my finger pointer thing. Maybe I'll push this in here. But this is sort of an interesting gap to me, right? Because you see there's no heat advisory there either. You would think that would be a heat advisory. If there's a heat advisory, I'll have to check that out, right? Because you got the heat advisory and then you're surrounded by an excessive heat warning. I would think Antioch's included in this, but certainly Vacaville and Fairfield would be included in the heat advisory. That's interesting. I might be missing something, or maybe they're missing something. I don't know. Oh, so right now we've got temperatures that are, this is current. So check out south side, west side of the valley in Sacramento, it's 99 degrees. That's a southwest wind. Remember those, how those arrows go? Here we got a south wind at Point Reyes, and then we got a northwest. So winds are variable and dynamic. They're kind of all over the place. Air quality, I think we'll see a spirit of the air day tomorrow. There's a lot of smoke in California right now, just from lingering fires. And boy, talk about smoke out in the Central Plains and the Midwest area. There's a lot of smoke coming down from Canada, but that's another story as well. So 4-door profiler. Let's see if I can squeeze it into my box. I don't think I can. Can I? Oh, almost. Okay, that's the depth of it. You can't really see the actual depth, but I can. And this right here, the inversion is at about 1,200 feet. And last night it was at about 1,400 feet. And by the time we look at it again tomorrow morning, it's going to be down to probably back down to 1,000 feet, which is our hot day. And then I've got all my maps are all over the place here. Let's see if I can move this in here a little bit better for you. Or can I? No, nice. There we go. Okay, so that's the plan. This is the 5-day forecast. Again, that whole thermal gradient thing, that's the summer months, man. And you can figure out a lot. There's, you know, you can tell the depth of the marine layer. You can tell by the temperature at the coast and the temperature inland, the disparity. And as the days get longer or shorter and things start to cool down, the valley cools down and the oceans kind of moderate, but they stay in the upper 50s. As the valley cools down, that sea breeze becomes less and less and less. And that's why October, November, December, not your best sailing months. But if you're a sailor, I used to be a windsurfer. It's awesome. The San Francisco Bay is world-class sailing. Okay, there you go. I hope you got something out of that. We'll see you back here tomorrow.